Hello, everybody. I hope everyone from the lounge is slowly coming in and finding a seat. First of all, thank you for being here. And I see friends, colleagues, art lovers, and for sure, inquisitive souls. And so for this, I have the honor to and pleasure to open the 2019 African Art in Venice Forum and welcoming you all here. And today and for the next 3 days, you will be at the core of this 3 days of discussions, dialogue, and discovery that we tried to create with relentless passion and commitment, and especially curiosity, I would say. Uh, most of you know already what the forum is, but let me tell you a brief story. Let me make the long story short and say how this was born. The first edition of the African Art in Venice Forum in 2019 was born from an urgency. And this urgency was the lack of representation of the artistic perspectives of a huge portion of the world population. And specifically, all of the narratives and counter-narratives arising from national, regional, and transnational context in Africa and its diaspora. This has been a long journey, but thanks to a team of volunteers that joined with enthusiasm and curiosity, the idea was implemented. And now we can say that in the first edition, almost 1,000 people were involved, either as speakers or participants, attendees. So now the first concept has become a program, and we hope it will be a long-standing program. We started a not-for-profit organization that is called African Art Dialogues, and this organization is made of people, professionals, that work pro bono for this. Let me give you some names. Amarildo Valeriano Agiasse, Ilaria Conti, Lupo Geronazzo Alman, Attilio Meoli, Chiara Orlandini, Asa Satti, Alexandra Topalski, Georgiana Wardbooth, and myself, Neri Torcello. Beyond producing this event, we have been working a lot to implement a network of screening sites so that artists and curators can gather, discuss the forum's content while it's happening, and thus creating new communities and develop the conversation elsewhere from Venice, especially for those people who cannot afford to come to Venice in such a period where everything is extremely expensive. So how we made it? We started a Kickstarter campaign and we asked people to donate to allow us to build all of this. You see the cameras there, we have a connection, we have a platform to transmit all of this globally, and so that people can watch the forum while it's happening. The donors connected to our Kickstarter campaign were pivotal in the success of it. Smack Gallery, who donated works for this, artworks from 2 different artists. Then Something We Africans Got, an incredible magazine that donated copies to use as rewards, and Investec Cape Town Art Fair, who donated the participation as a VIP guest at their fair for next year. We have to thank, of course, our Kickstarter backers, especially those who donated the most in this case, but all of the others as well. Let me give you just 4 names: Lise van der Vaart and Stefan Pretorius, Laurent Charbonnier, and Lorenzo Cendali. And of course, our generous contributors and supporters: Strauss & Co., Sotheby's, Xenia Security, and Love Milano. Lupo Geronazzo Alman and Mario Geronazzo Alman, who made this auditorium possible. And you can see a dedication here. Adriana Sozzani and Lupo Geronazzo Alman, who made our lounge possible. And our lounge will be a place of discussion, conversation, when we go outside of this auditorium, and we invite you to use it. There's coffee, tea, latte, everything you need. So you don't need to go like downstairs and pay coffee 5 euros or whatever it is. Yeah. All of these kind of things. But let me tell you that we received also a grant, and this forum, the African Art in Venice Forum, is presented thanks to the support of the Edmond de Rothschild Foundations too. So, one last observation. The forum was born with the passion of professionals, but these professionals are not just professionals, they are like people with shared values and people who get along. And so I would define them friends and not just colleagues. So please be relaxed about the environment that we're going to create. It's a conference, there's a lot of grandeur here, but let's make it a friendly environment. So I wish you all 3 days of inspiration, reflections, of course, please do, and connections. I leave the floor to Ilaria, who will tell you more about this edition features and something about the future.
Grazie, Neri. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. We're really, really happy to have you here. And as Neri was saying, this is really a forum more than a conference. So it's really important for us that this is a place where people can gather, meet, talk, and really is a space centered on exchange. In order to facilitate this process to take place, what we were trying to think for this year was a format that slightly differed from what was presented in 17. So as you saw, this year we're presenting a forum across 3 days, so we're expanding the format, trying to really include as much as possible more perspectives to try and foster more conversation, more exchanges, while at the same time trying not to create schedule conflicts for everybody with what's happening with the biennial out there. So thank you again for being here in the midst of this hectic moment. One thing that I think it's very important for us to stress is the centrality of the discursive format. So, as Neri mentioned, since 2017, something very important has happened. We have formed a nonprofit organization based in Italy that produces the forum, I'm sorry. And in our bylaws, we decided very willingly to include that we do not produce exhibitions. We don't do that now, and we won't do that in the future. It's not part of our priority. And the reason for that is that we're really focused and we really believe on the possibilities of the discursive format. Its flexibility, the fact that it's centered on human encounter and exchange and conversation. And we see that as a very important starting point that also has though great longevity for the forum. So this is another central element that I think it's important to stress so that we explain better where we're coming from with this. So another important element is that the forum is a platform. I always say it's not a curated project in the sense that there's not a small bunch of people that curate and decide across the board what's going to happen across these 3 days. What we've been implementing in the last year and a half is a system of content partners. And for us, that is very important. It's central to the mission of the forum. This is a network of people that either have approached us, that we have approached, and this is a conversation that we want to really keep open also for the future editions of the forum. So we encourage you or people that might collaborate with you or colleagues and so on to really come and talk to us and have this moment of exchange if you're interested in doing something in the context of the forum. Because we're interested in having different perspectives. We're interested in having different people that might work from a different entry point than the one that we develop. And that's an important element for us, the creation of this network and making sure that this network is ever expanding and articulates itself in different ways as new editions of the forum are being presented. So I will briefly thank you, the content partners, because they have been really essential, crucial, instrumental to the development of this project. Artactic, Arts and Globalization, Black History Month Florence, KYC, Caribbean Arts Initiative, Crane Projects, Digital Earth, Emerging African Art Galleries Association, Edmund de Rothschild Foundation, New Arts Exchange, Review Noir, and Something We Africans Got. So the Forum is a project that leverages really the incredible cohort of people that come to Venice, but also, as Neri was saying, being in Venice, especially now, is a privilege, and we are very well aware of that. So what is very important for us is that at the center of the vision and the mission of the Forum is the expansion of this cohort, is an expansion of these possibilities. So looking ahead, what we're interested in doing is really working toward having the financial and infrastructural tools to bring new people into this conversation, to bring new artists, new curators, new professionals that might not necessarily have the chance to be here with us today. So the live stream, what you're seeing here, it's a first step to expand that conversation. And for those that are watching from the live stream, I again encourage everybody to ask questions in the YouTube comment section, and we will take those questions. We will field them to the speakers. We will try to answer back. But in general, the idea is that we want to expand the cohort that is contributing to the forum. So that is our main goal for Forum 2021 and the editions hopefully to come after that, while also trying to stay public and free. So you're all here, you saw, again, it's a free event. We want to really keep it that way because we don't like the VIP effect too much, and we want to be able to just make sure that everybody that can get the ticket and can be here or on live stream just has access to it all. And all these talks will also be recorded and stored on our website. So for those who are missing, or if you want to see a talk that you will be, you'll have to miss this week, don't worry, because we will have that on our website. So we will work toward all of this in the months and years to come, trying to solidify the nonprofit, try to create sustainability. And as Neri was saying, we're all a cohort of professionals that work pro bono on this, and we want to keep it that way. It's very important. But I also want to, last point, to take the chance to thank the team that has been working specifically on the 2019 edition, because it's a wonderful group of volunteers that devote their time, their intelligence, their expertise with a wonderful commitment. So just one last list, and then I leave it to Osei. Ted Bowen, Julia Chamois, Astrid Gebhardt, Shona van der Merwe, Alexandra Topolsky, Vincenza Vario, Georgiana Ward-Booth, and Leopoldo Zampiccoli. So thank you so much. I hope you will enjoy these 3 days with us.
So I'd like to, following up on Neri and Ilaria's points, to make a kind of general thanks to you all for being here. One of the really important things about the forum, as was outlined, is that it's a discursive and free event, and in being here, you're all sharing, exponentially to the kind of intellectual culture that Venice offers. I think that when Forum started in 2017, there was a huge deal of skepticism. And I think that Neri perhaps didn't see it because he was coming very much from a perspective of someone that's sort of endlessly enthusiastic and full of joy and hope. And in fact, as our kind of leader in this, Neri's been very persistent in all of the values that were just laid out. I mean, it's they walk the walk and talk the talk, and I want to, first outline that. But it was fraught with controversy for this reason, that Venice holds a complex relationship to Africa. For several different reasons, but partly to do with, I think, an issue of a kind of territoriality. So throughout the history of the Biennale is going to be outlined in the first talk, there have been really all of these attempts to kind of own Africa as a concept, as an idea, as a form. And that's kind of resulted in various sparring matches, you could say, kind of advances on institutional territory, but also kind of attempts to sort of rubber stamp what it is that Africa should be within a context like Venice. And actually the importance of the forum is it kind of reveals that there is no right position for Africa to take in relation to the Venice Biennale, but rather a kind of polyphony or a plurality of positions that we can all reach through shared contributions. So one of the things I'd like to highlight is really the emphasis on this forum being both regional, cultural, and historical. And in that kind of transversal approach is sort of trying to bring in multiple voices from different professional backgrounds and not privilege the artist or the curator or the kind of the usual suspects. Another thing that's really important is that we're contributing to a larger ecosystem. So even though we're here in this grand hotel in Venice, through the live stream and through other kind of initiatives that will follow on, there'll be all of these kind of rhizomatic effects where Africa hopefully will be directly informed, influenced, and there will be a shared space that this forum has with multiple countries on the continent. Many of whom are going to kind of speak for themselves in the first panel, which is all about national participations of pavilions. So what I really wanted to do as chair, because I kind of get the pleasure of really sort of surfing the content and engaging in dialogue with all of the speakers, is kind of outline what's ahead today. So we really begin with this question of representation. Who are the historical actors throughout the history of the Biennale, particularly now where Africa has a kind of unprecedented presence within the Biennale, what that means? Is it a moment of triumph, or is it in fact a moment to think about what the stakes are with national representation? Often they are hugely expensive undertakings. Often they kind of would dwarf the budget of a kind of local cultural system. So it's worth asking about the kind of shared reciprocity between the local and the global. That will shift into a discussion around Africaneity and really what it means to have this space within diaspora, how people relate to the question of what it means to be African. Then we'll move to the question of blackness, particularly in the European context, that I think is really worth thinking about now that so many people that participating in the African pavilions aren't people that live in Africa per se, but who have a diasporic connection to the continent. The other question is around agency and technology. So really thinking through what it means as the world becomes more digitized in a way, as the world becomes more hyper-networked, how this concept of Africa can perhaps take on a different form that's not about geographical power plays, but more about this kind of shared space of networking, of meaning, and reciprocity, as I said before. So that's pretty much the kind of content. So I hope you all stick around. I mean, it's a real pleasure being here, and I'd like to kind of echo the thanks that Neri and Ilaria put out, and really to say that each of you, one of the things that we're trying to emphasize this year is that questions are not necessarily reserved till the very end. So you can all kind of share thoughts throughout. If you have a kind of burning question, don't feel at all afraid to raise your hands. And contribute, and yeah, just thank you all for being here, and I look forward to having more conversations with each of you.
So, just the last gratitude moment. Thank you, Osei. You're great. And we would like to, yeah, we would like, yes, to how do you say?
I guess
Transition?
is the word.
Yes. Transition directly to the first session and invite all of the speakers of the first session here to take our place.